All right, friends, here we are back at Freeport Cigar and Wine in Freeport, Maine. Supposed to be having an event here hosted by Phillip from Foundation Cigars. So let's see what we got. There he is right there. All right, we are here with Foundation Phil from Foundation Cigars.
Hey.
And thanks for coming to Maine. We don't get a lot of cigar reps up here, so I really appreciate that. All right, let's talk about Foundation. So I just bought a box of the Charter Oak, and I used to smoke cigars back in the 90s when I was a touring musician. It was kind of like a different scene back then. It was like, dark, natural, Connecticut. That was kind of it. But I got back into cigars in more recent years, and the Charter Oak Maduro was the first one that I smoked. And I was like, wow, cigars have gotten so much better from what I remember in the 90s. So you're the Northeast rep.
Yes.
I assume you're covering Connecticut.
Yes, I cover Connecticut.
So that's the Connecticut broadleaf?
Right.
Is that actually from the Connecticut River
Valley?
Valley?
Yes, from the Connecticut River Valley,
Yeah.
absolutely. So the Connecticut broadleaf is still grown in the River Valley, and it's the soil around the Connecticut River is what makes the tobacco plant taste so good for cigar smokers. So the soil is a natural sandy loam, which is a very deep layer, so the roots grow deeper on the Connecticut broadleaf, and the water filters down to the leaves naturally. So we say the deeper the root, the sweeter the fruit.
Yeah.
So it gives Connecticut broadleaf just this signature kind of dark cocoa and earthy sweetness, a little bit of roasted espresso, and so that wrapper, yes, is from the Connecticut.
A little bit of fruitiness, almost, and like dark fruit. Yeah. So that's great. Now, one of the things I noticed, and maybe this is more of a question for Nicholas, but like there's a ancient religion or sort of spiritual theme to some of these cigars. Like the David and Goliath.
Right.
You have the Wise Man, the Tabernacle.
Right.
It's that was intriguing to me. Like Charter Oak, I didn't actually know back years ago was done by Foundation,
Right.
but like some of the branding on some of the stuff is really very specific. Do you find that draws people in, or people sometimes confused by these weird words? It seems like there's a big connection to Ethiopia as well too.
Absolutely.
So I find that really interesting.
Yeah, no, I think people are fascinated by the story. So there's a story with every cigar that we do.
Yeah.
The Charter Oak obviously connects the history of tobacco growing to Connecticut, to one of the first colonies, to really the history of the United States of America. The connection to Ethiopia is really to the history of the world. So Nicholas would say that he's very much into history, and as he started to learn more about Ethiopia, he was fascinated about it being one of the birthplaces of civilization. So he kind of wanted to attach that story to the cigars he was doing, just to give another layer of significance. So, and people tend to like the stories. It's interesting.
I
you
do.
Wonder, does that make a difference to people? But it really does. So when he made the Tabernacle, he chose Haile Selassie, the last emperor of Ethiopia.
Right.
And the kings of Ethiopia traced their lineage all the way back to King Solomon and the Queen of Sheba. And so that history is very deep and very rich, and he wanted to make something that was equally special and precious to him, which is the Connecticut broadleaf. And the Tabernacle held the Ark of the Covenant, a very special item, so that's why he called it the Tabernacle. And so then on the Oxum cigar, we have Haile Selassie's father, Ross McKinnon, and the Oxum uses the Connecticut broadleaf as the binder. So you still get the flavor, but it's in a little bit different format, which is really cool. And the King Solomon and the Queen of Sheba had a son named Menelik, whose name means the wise man. So the wise man is that connection to the story. So we do have that strong connection in all of those stories. But one of my favorite trivia questions is, do you know what Haile Selassie's real name is? And you might have heard it. I didn't know until a couple of years ago.
It's not Rastafari.
It is Rastafari. So Ross is the title for king. Tafari was his name. So Rastafari. So you see that there's a connection to Jamaica, which also has a long history of tobacco growing. Not so much these days. Not as much tobacco out of Jamaica.
I know he has the Upsetter, which is like based on like Jamaican rude boys and that early sort of culture.
And that uses Jamaican tobacco.
That was going to be my question.
If any, that are using Jamaican tobacco. So real Jamaican tobacco. The wrappers will vary. There's a Connecticut shade, a Connecticut broadleaf, and a Sumatra. But the binder and filler is Jamaican, and that's really cool. And where we are in Connecticut, there's a lot of Jamaicans that came up to work the tobacco fields when we needed workers.
Yeah.
And so there's large Jamaican communities in the Hartford area and in the Connecticut River Valley area.
Well,
so there's a Africa, Jamaica, Connecticut connection.
Yeah. So full disclosure, when I was a touring musician in the 90s, I played in ska and reggae bands.
Okay,
so like
nice.
I know that whole culture.
Yeah.
So like, seeing Selassie
Yes.
and seeing
The names of the upsetters.
yeah, the upsetters, and I was like, oh man, I get this.
Rocksteady.
Yeah, I was like, I want to hang out with Nicholas someday because like we'd have a lot to chat about.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
All right, and so finally, I want to talk about some of the special cigars. I think I mentioned to you earlier, I had the 10, is it Anniversario?
Yes, 10th Anniversario.
That was a really great cigar.
Yes.
Can you tell me a little bit
Yeah,
about
that's
that?
an amazing cigar. So that uses a hybrid wrapper. It's a hybrid of the Connecticut broadleaf and the Havana Seed 142 that we use in the Tabernacle.
Okay.
So Nick made a hybrid of those two plants, and that becomes the wrapper on the 10th anniversary. And we use a Brazilian Modafina binder, which we use in a lot of our high-end cigars. It just holds everything nicely together and rounds out the flavor. And so it has all of that strength of the Tabernacle, and you may be able to taste notes of one or the other wrappers, but I think it's a really unique and great entry into the broadleaf category, and it's a great smoke. I agree.
And one other one I want to ask you that I've never had, is it the Night Commander?
Night Commander, yeah.
Yeah, tell me a little bit about that.
So the Night Commander is the highest level of our Tabernacle series. So that's a yearly release. It comes out once a year, usually at the end of November, beginning of December. And the Night Commander was named to commemorate the fact that Nicholas was made a Night Commander in Ethiopia.
Oh, really?
For all the work that he's done for the country. He started a foundation with Haile Selassie's grandson.
Wow.
And that charity, the Royal Ethiopian Trust, raises money for schools, to rebuild churches, educational programs for kids. And we donate all of our profits on the Night Commander to charity.
Okay.
So even though it's one of our most expensive cigars, we donate all the profits to charity, and it does really good work. So we're trying to highlight that more with people, that they can visit the Royal Ethiopian Trust and see all the work that's being done in Ethiopia.
Yeah, very cool. All right, well, thank you so much again for coming to Maine. Where can people follow you? Where can they follow Foundation Cigars?
Yeah, you can follow us on social media. Foundation Cigars is on all the platforms.
Okay.
I'm Foundation Phil on Instagram, and you can follow me there and see all of the cigar stuff. Yeah.
All right. Thanks so much. I really appreciate your time.
You're welcome. Thank you.